Good evening and welcome to Greater Somerville for January 6, 2015. I'm Cayenne Anderson. Tonight, Greater Somerville pays tribute to a very special woman who has been a long-standing figure and founding face of Union Square Main Street's organization for over a decade, as she embarks on her own private business adventures in 2015. Over the past several years, she has helped to strengthen the vitality of Union Square and the surrounding neighborhoods through the organization of many memorable events. She has been a critical player, teaming with the Somerville Arts Council on their pursuit to celebrate Somerville's famous and locally founded marshmallow cream at the annual Fluff Fest that comes to Somerville year after year. In addition, she has served on multiple committees and interest groups as a fierce advocate of the evolution of Union Square since the founding of Union Square Main Streets in 2005. I believe it's safe to say that this area would likely be very different had it not crossed paths with Mimi Grady way back when. With a new executive director on the horizon, a master developer selected to transform the architectural landscape of Union Square, and the upcoming Green Line station to be completed by 2017, it becomes even more critical in the years ahead that there's a strong voice for this community. So please join me in welcoming for her final appearance here on Greater Somerville as the Executive Director of Union Square Main Streets, Mimi Graney to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Cayenne.
Sorry about that. That was a little bit of a edited snafu there. I did a little editing in my head and I forgot I was on camera. So welcome back.
Thank you.
We are here on a very, very, very cold. I was debating. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope she shows up. It's like, I don't even know if my car is going to start. But anyway, so here we are, 2015. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
You've not been in the new set.
This is gorgeous.
It's very cozy, especially for nights like tonight. So at any rate, you've been this before. You're kind of like, you're a regular here on Greater Somerville. So, but I did find it very important to just kind of reflect with you, talk about what you're going to be doing, very exciting stuff, and you're not going to be too far away.
No, my
literally.
office, I can see.
I mean, you can kind of see the office in this. It's just kind of funny. So, just a little background information. I know most people know you that are watching at home, but just in case they don't, you're the founding executive director of Union Square Main Streets since January 2005. So that's a long time. So a decade.
Exactly 10 years.
Was that intentional? Did you plan that?
It was sort of it felt a little like, okay, it's time to, for somebody new in the position, and for me to be doing something new too.
Okay. And more recently, well, way back when, you were the executive director of SCAT TV, which a lot of people
This
don't
had
know.
been my office.
Wait, this was your office?
This was my office.
Oh my God. Did they kick you out and make this the hot set then, or how'd that happen?
I was here when we renovated the building. So that's when we made this the hot set. So where Wendy's office is now used to be the entrance. And there used to be the cable company had their office here at one time. So we reconfigured the whole space.
And now, so what year was that?
That was in 1998, maybe?
Wow. It's come a long way.
It has come a long way.
And you're working like not to, I mean, you definitely have a great commute.
I just go half a block every 10 years.
She moves it down. So more importantly, you are the co-founder of Relish Management. And Relish. I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. You and
Mary Cat Shaken.
Yep.
So folks might know us from our spot in the alley. So we opened up the Center for Urban Agriculture called Relish the summer of 2013 on Sunnybrook Court. So the garage where we had been keeping the farmers market stuff and the Fluff Festival things, and had been keeping it there for 8 years. The lease was up and the people were moving out, and we kind of had to scramble and figure out, okay, we still needed a place to keep all that stuff. And somebody else was interested in it, but they weren't interested right away. So we had about 8 months where we thought, okay, it was available to do something interesting. And we kind of, I grew up on a little urban farm myself. My dad's a beekeeper. My brother's a beekeeper. He does eat local honey.
That's great.
We raise chickens and goats and big pigs and steers. And Mary Cat's family had her grandmother was the member of the Cattlemen's Association in Florida. So I thought, everybody's really interested in urban agriculture. The ordinance had just been passed. So we set it up as a store and a learning center for all kinds of home-based food production. So you could get supplies for keeping chickens and bees and canning and
you could take
pickling,
classes, which
and
I
you
thought
could
was
take
interesting.
classes.
Yeah.
So there was a adjoining classroom that had been a big conference room. So we did that for eight or 9 months, and Mary Cat, when it kind of wrapped up, we're like, that was fun. What do we want to do next?
What's the next adventure?
So then we sort of thought, okay, let's make this official, and we turned ourselves into Relish Management.
Yeah.
And then the projects just started coming to us.
So now Relish, the pop-up, that's not on hold, but that's...
That closed down.
It closed down, yeah, okay.
Site-specific project.
Okay.
So now we're doing placemaking activities in other communities. So what I've done in Union Square with the farmers market and the Fluff Festival, and sort of looking at, we had done a chair project. How can we help make Union Square a really exciting, interesting place that looks at the local assets and kind of animates a spot? Because I've been sort of telling folks about when that first winter I was with Union Square Main Streets. The phone calls I would get most frequently was there were a group of vagrants that would be passed out on the benches on the plaza. And people would send me pictures, and they'd be like, that and the rats were the main things I got calls about. And now it's, where's there's a space, I want to open up a business, or I'm about to buy this property, like how can I get plugged into the neighborhood? It's such a different kind of conversation that people are wanting to have.
Wow.
And people are worried about displacement, and they're worried about how to keep the unique character. So we've got a different set of problems now.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty exciting time to be in the neighborhood.
Well, I definitely want to get back to Relish Management, because I mean that's obviously, I want to make sure that we let the viewers at home know all the wonderful things you're going to do. But I do want to take a step back just quickly within Union Square Main Streets, just because you did do such a phenomenal job growing the organization in a way that, like, making it known, like, you've put on countless events. And they're so fun. I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever been to Fluff Fest. I'm sure a lot of you probably have that are watching this, but it's really just grown astronomically. And I mean, people, I'm sure you get calls about it all the time. I mean, it's a pretty big deal.
We had basically the equivalent of the Travel Channel in South America, which is shown in like 8 different countries, a viewership of like 30 million people. They came to the Fluff Festival last year and were here the whole time to capture all the action.
That's fantastic.
We've been on the Food Network and on Weekend America, which is a national radio program. The Associated Press covered it. Sagad covered it.
It's fair to say it's pretty successful. It's one of your more successful events.
It's done well. Yeah.
It's done well. So, Union Square Main Streets.
But some of our other crazy, when I was cleaning out the office, I found all these events that I didn't even remember anymore.
Yeah.
Our rock, paper, scissors tournament.
Okay.
That was epic.
That sounds epic. I love that
We
game.
had done a series of events called Bully Pulpit, so we had people coming up with 3-minute like presentations about quirky things that they were passionate about. So like a bunch of slides and kind of very staccato and like.
And wait, you just kind of set up a podium somewhere in Union Square?
Back when Precinct was open, we took over the back room of Precinct, and would have about 20 people doing all these like quick presentations. It was sort of like show and tell for adults.
So what I loved about this is that you've done so many different kind of unique events that it was really, I mean, to what you're going to be doing, it's real. I mean, it seemed as though you were allowed a little bit of creativity to just kind of create and do and experiment. And some things maybe, I'm sure you had maybe an event or two that wasn't as successful as, say, Fluff Fest.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning or no?
No.
No.
Yeah.
But you just, I mean,
because it's all about an experiment. It's like what works, and it's really about what are people in the neighborhood interested in. The idea was let's take the neighborhood assets, get people together, and see what's interesting. So the rock paper scissors tournament, in particular,
people were into that.
Yeah, it was a couple people like, we want to do this, and I'm like, great, let's do it.
Now, did you notice that, like, as you in 10 years' time, did the people change? So that, like, the events changed, right? Or did they? I mean, the things that people were asking for.
Yeah, the neighborhood's definitely changed. It's when we first started, when I looked at all the old press releases and posters, I would have to explain where Union Square was.
Yeah.
People didn't know where Union Square was, and I have to explain it's where Somerville Avenue, Washington Street, and Prospect Street meet. There's another Union Square in Brighton, which we no longer are confused with
That doesn't
anymore.
count. That doesn't count.
I get a lot of calls from people who think we're the one in New York, though.
Oh, yeah. Now you should be like, no, we're in Brooklyn. Sorry. Somerville's the new Brooklyn. So they say. But
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. I think it's an easier sell now. Like right now, it's hard to do anything without getting a great crowd.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that are wanting to kind of. We've got a great reputation now for really fun things.
Well, the Union Square Farmers Market, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And every time, I mean, it does go indoors to the Armory, but when it's down here, it's amazing. It's like a machine. I mean, in a good way, though. I mean, like you come in here, they're up, they're ready, it's moving around, there's energy, but then all of a sudden, it's like when it's time, everybody packs up and goes home and it's clean.
Like in half an hour, it's
You need to
gone.
get like a time-lapse camera or something. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And
the farmers love being here.
Yeah.
They just love being connected with the neighborhood. They just say it's like their favorite market to come to. That it's like
That's gonna make you
lively,
feel
the
good.
customers are really interesting, people are really wanting to chat with them and get to know their products, and they really feel like it's like all of them tell us that it's their favorite market.
It probably wasn't always like that, though, or when you first started it, right? I mean, like, how was, I'm curious,
It was
about
sleepy when we first started.
Sleepy.
So when we first started, I was looking at those pictures too. 400 people. Now we're getting 32 to 3,400
Wow.
people every Saturday.
That's incredible.
And we had, like Drumlin Farm, which is still a vendor at the
They're great,
market.
yeah.
They had one little booth. Now they're up to 3. Parker Farm had one little booth. He's up to 3. Like everybody's expanded
Yeah.
over time, and we've added a lot more vendors.
And so how do you, I mean, I guess you didn't really have to, or I guess you did have to pitch that. So
it was a hard sell.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So how was that? I mean, how did that go over? Because I can imagine, like, what made you think, okay, there's this plaza, we've got some rats, we've got some people laying on the, on the benches. Let's put some food and produce. I mean, it's outside the box. I like it.
Well, a big part of where it came from was we did a customer intercept survey. So we stopped people in the neighborhood and asked them where were they shopping, how much money did they spend, where they come, how they get here, where they from, all these very personal, intrusive questions people were very willing to answer for us. And we found that the people who were shopping in the neighborhood didn't live in the neighborhood. So the people who were spending money were mostly low-income people who were relatively recent immigrants, and were coming to a couple different businesses. The people who lived in the neighborhood weren't coming here to buy anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. What's going on?
Do we have a call? Uh-oh. Are we getting cranked messages after this?
So we never get calls anymore because Joe and I have made the executive decision of just forgetting it because we love the way the set looks and we're just like, whatever. But I just got a message. I thought I got in trouble. It was almost like I got a note from my teacher, but it says,
Yeah.
I do not like fluff, but I love Mimi. Best wishes, Joe Lynch.
Oh.
So anyway,
Oh, that's so
Joe's
sweet.
watching. Joe's watching the show. Very, very nice. Sending me a little
Oh.
text.
Thank you, Joe.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that so it was a hard sell. You just kind of were like,
Yeah, so we found that people who were coming to the neighborhood, people were coming here to shop to get kind of, their go to the Brazilian market or go to the Reliable market. But people who lived around here weren't shopping here. And farmers markets, kind of by their nature, attract people within walking distance.
yeah,
So we thought, well, if we get people within the neighborhood to start shopping in one place in the neighborhood, maybe they'll shop somewhere else. So those first couple of years, our goal really was to get people to come to the market and then link them to something else.
go to a coffee shop or something
Yeah,
like that.
so go to Sherman, go to Reliable, go to Capone's, go
Yeah.
to anything else in the neighborhood while you're here. And so we were doing lots of tie-ins and promotions and flyers, and then we were able to started tracking that the first couple of years, and our attendance and the sales at nearby businesses were
Really?
direct correspondent.
That's great.
And we kind of very carefully curated the vendors so that it would encourage people to buy things elsewhere. So, for example, people always ask, why don't you have coffee at the farmer's market? And that's because you should take a half a block and you might bump into some interesting things on the way. And
Yeah.
the whole idea is to support those other businesses.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's wonderful, and to see how it's grown. I mean, you see East Somerville, Main Streets. They do a lot of, really interesting things, and just really trying to within each square. I mean, they all have their really unique identities, and I think that you did. Union Square, Main Streets. there's such a presence here. And I mean, it really is, in my mind, like in terms of the future of the square and so many things that are coming up. I mean, you've got the Green Line coming, and great news from yesterday. 2017, it's going to be completed in Union Square. You've got the master developer, US2, all these things. The neighborhood planning process is in full force. Per my, what is this little thing that we get? Oh. I don't know if any of you want to come to these meetings, but I have to tell you, there's like a meeting every single day for the Union Square planning process because they're trying to accelerate it. And I commend the city for trying to get all this done, but it's a little overwhelming in 2015.
It's very overwhelming.
Yeah, and you know, it's like we kind of have lives, so to be able to go to a meeting
I gotta say, I've been, this has been my job to do this. I mean, it's my passion, but it's also my job. And I am so impressed by the volunteers and our board members and these folks who have got day jobs and families that are showing up to these community meetings and really staying engaged and putting a lot of time and passion and digging into this, and because they really care about the future of the neighborhood.
The future of the neighborhood. And one of the things to talk about real quickly here, well, not even quickly, is the idea of there's so many innovative businesses that are coming here. And one of the things that's coming up, many of you may or may not know, but there's going to be a huge zoning change or overhaul. George Porakis has been working on it for forever, and he finally put it out there, which is great, and I know it's getting hashed out, but that's going to change the fabric of Union Square and Somerville, for that matter. And to the point of makerspace and having these unique spaces that are, larger industrial sized, not condos. I mean, that's a concern of yours. And
what's interesting about the zoning is that, from talking to George, so many of the buildings in Somerville were considered non-conforming because Somerville was built initially as a pedestrian-oriented neighborhood, as a community where you could live and work and shop, and everything was all in together. And so you had blue-collar workers and white-collar workers and offices and residents and schools all within a walkable neighborhood. And then after our trolley left, and then the whole nature of city planning shifted. So the idea was you would keep those separated, and you needed lots of places to park cars. Yeah. And so the rules of Somerville didn't reflect the actual fabric of the neighborhood that existed.
And that's what the zoning changes.
So the zoning in some ways says
catching up.
It's catching up and saying like, oh, look at all the houses on this street are right along the edge of the sidewalk. Maybe all the new houses should be matching each of those. Yeah. Or this is how a two-family looks, and not necessarily require, when you look at Target, that doesn't feel like it fits the rest of this neighborhood.
I know, I love Target, but you're right.
I know, because it was built in the day where you needed a sea of parking.
Yeah.
So even when Main Streets first started, the spot where Block 11 is now, we came like that close to it being a check cashing spot. Ugh. And it was going to be required that little courtyard was going to have to be a parking lot.
Oh, what would you fit in there? Like a small little, well, anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. But so part of the rules of saying like, you know what, this neighborhood did really great before cars, and it'll do great without creating all this space for cars.
Well, now, I know you did a very amazing TEDx Somerville talk on this very topic in terms of economic history of Union Square, or excuse me, Somerville rather, too. But, I mean, and your hope was that to be using these types of zoning changes, which are really kind of like we're going out there with these, which I think is great. Yeah. But is the goal or the hope that this will then spread to other communities and how they do their zoning or planning?
Well, so my TEDx talk was sort of looking at how to preserve kind of gritty spaces, keep industrial spaces still within our commercial downtowns. Yeah. Have them within near transit. And there's such pressure for, as everybody knows, like you can make a fortune by building a condo. Yes. So there's a lot of pressure for developers or any property owner to turn their space into housing. So it was inspired from a couple of years ago, those big old brick buildings that are right next to Market Basket. Yeah. Were going to be converted, and somebody wanted to rezone
the Mako building, yeah.
Yeah, the whole Mako building, they wanted to rezone it, which would have allowed it to be demolished and made into housing. And right now it's not being used to its optimum, but if you look at the rest of the Ames complex, which is where Brooklyn Boulders is, and the Artisans Asylum, and Aeronaut, and Brewery, and these
Great
designers,
innovations.
engineers, like unbelievable innovation happening there. That's
Wouldn't be possible with like smaller space, or I mean, if they to make.
yeah. If they turned those into apartments,
Yeah.
you're never going to have that commercial space. So my passion really now, or one of them, is to really, how can we save these industrial spaces that maybe don't generate as much in tax revenue, maybe aren't the most attractive, but that they're places, dedicated places for work, and we need to preserve those the same way as we preserve, you know, a beautiful other historic building.
Yeah.
Because it's about preserving that way of life.
I agree. And now I want to switch because we have just so many interesting things to talk to you about, but we have about maybe 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So I want to get to relish management because
Yes.
this is something that you've cooked up, and you and Mary Kat, excuse me. Talk to me about that. What do you see yourself? You're located right in Union Square, so she's not going too far away.
Yep.
But what will you, or what have you been doing? Because I mean, I know this has been brewing for a while.
Yeah, so we're already working in Watertown at the Arsenal on the Charles. So that's the old Arsenal that's had a big fence around it for generations, and the public hadn't really felt welcome there. So it's now owned by Athena Health, and Jonathan Bush, of the Bush family, really cares a lot about healthy living and farming, and was sort of, they had a long-standing relationship with the farm school, so they were looking at how can we welcome the community into this campus, have them feel more at home here, be able to use the grounds, and to be able to provide an amenity. Watertown has been talking about trying to get a farmer's market for
Like
decades, and hadn't been able to make one happen. So the Athena Health brought Mary Kat and I in under Relish, and we launched a farmer's for them. So it started last summer, and it'll be continuing again this
To
this
build,
summer.
much like Union Square Farmers Market. Bless you.
Another project that we're working on, which we're really excited about, is we just recently presented before the Cambridge Redevelopment Authority, and
yes.
we'll be presenting again with a little more detail. So we're hoping they'll give us the thumbs up. It is it's a 6,000 square foot parcel in Kendall Square, and it's been sitting empty since the late 50s. It's just been sitting vacant.
Really?
On
I
the
think everyone's building in Kendall Square.
I know,
It's
so
crazy.
So it's on 3rd Street, just a couple doors down from Voltage Coffee.
Oh.
And it's had just a chain link fence
I know
around
where it is, and there's all the little things in the middle. Is that
Yeah.
right in the middle?
Well, it's just on the corner.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a skinny little spot right along 3rd Street.
Oh my goodness. All right. I know what that is.
So we were commissioned, and they're like, we want to have a use for 3 to 5 years because it's going to be redeveloped as part of the Volpe property.
Yep.
But we can't dig deeper than 18 inches because it'll trigger all kinds of environmental requirements, which will make the project
Yeah.
untenable. They wanted some kind of structure on it so that even somebody casually going by will see something happening. There were all kinds of rules we couldn't do. We couldn't do food trucks. We couldn't do parking. We couldn't do a farmer's market because they've already got 2 farm markets. They wanted to help develop a retail corridor along 3rd Street, so it had to be retail, and ideally to really reach out to the East Cambridge residents. So our idea, our placemaker title is Kite Day Happyful, and it is a vending machine park. So it is
It was a permanent vending machine park.
yes, so it's going to, this is our proposal.
No,
So-
I love it.
So all these different vending machines, but we'll have local foods, so you can get fresh eggs, you can get fresh tomatoes, salads, soups, fresh coffee, and then we'll have a bunch of like innovative ones because a lot of corporations are looking at how can they make them more engaging in marketing.
Yeah.
So like Cadbury has this really awesome one where you log in with your Facebook account and it scans your profile and determines the perfect chocolate for you.
And now, where's the power going to go? How is that? You're just going to have you're going to figure that out.
There's electricity there, but we're also looking at doing some solar powered
So there'll be all these vending machines. A person can kind of go there and just check things out.
And there's all these really interesting artist ones. So there had been one in Boston where you tap your Charlie card. It doesn't charge you, but it uses your number to give you a unique light show and an oral history from the neighborhood.
So those will be a permanent fixture in this kind of what would otherwise be just kind of a wasted
Well, a semi-permanent.
space. Semi-permanent.
So it's 3 to 5 year is the horizon.
But I mean, but these vending machines are going to be staying there.
That's our hope.
Oh my God!
That's
and
our
so,
proposal.
where else are you in the few minutes that we have? I just want to make sure that we cover like the mission is off of your website, I did my homework, but the for more vibrant spaces, project management and consulting for placemaking, food-based, and creative economy initiatives. So you're really just kind of starting this, and I feel like, you know, who are you targeting certain people, places, or, I mean, because I think there's so many places that could benefit from this service, I think.
So we're looking to work with cities and with developers, other Main Streets programs, either existing neighborhoods that could use a little help, or neighborhoods that are sort of launching up. So Assembly Row, that, you know, is got this new neighborhood, but it needs to get some soul and some activity.
It needs some soul. I know.
Yeah.
I have no disrespect to the developers.
They've been doing a great job.
It's too clean.
Well, it's
just
new. It's new.
No, I know, but it's got that squeaky new car smell. It's just like I walk through there, and it's like everything's perfect.
Yeah, you're going to go with your chocolate-covered fingers.
I
for a
know.
little
We
bit.
need to get some rats over. No, I'm kidding. Rats with all the restaurants that are over there. But yeah, I know what you're saying. So it's almost like you're coming in to some of these municipalities and being like, okay, what did this used to be? Maybe understanding the historical kind of nature of that, what that was. Because, I mean, you're so good at that with Somerville. I mean, you
Well, and there's all these new residents coming in that want to have something to call their own, you know? So there's a bunch of, like, kind of gateway cities I'm interested in. You know, there's my sort of places that I'd love to get to know better.
Yeah.
And reach out to. So they'll be on my short list once I do my final wrap-up with Union Square, Main Streets. But when I say final wrap-up, it's not. I'm not going very far. I'm just going half a block away.
And for those people at home, we've got maybe about 1 minute here, but so I will put all this information on our website so you can check it out on the Greater Somerville blog, www.relishmgmt.com, and all the Twitter, Facebook information. Really, really, really an amazing kind of venture. And Union Square Main Streets, you did such an amazing job with that, so I wish you well with that. I'd really like to thank our guest, Mimi Gramey, for stopping by Greater Somerville tonight on her farewell tour as she departs Union Square Main Street's organization in pursuing a co-owned business venture with Relish Management, whose office is located conveniently enough down the street in the heart of Union Square. Union Square remains one of the highlights of Somerville, and we have Mimi Gramey to thank for much of this effort. She's given years of her life to revitalizing this community. I'd like to thank her for all that she's done for making Somerville a better place to be. A sincere thank you from all of us down here at SCAT TV for your exceptional work, and as well as continued support of both SCAT TV and Greater Somerville over the years. So best of luck to you in your new adventures at Relish Management. So please stop back and see us anytime. And that does it for tonight.
Thank you,
You can
Joe.
visit our blog, www.greatersomerville.wordpress.com, for links and information about tonight's program. And thank you to the viewers at home for watching. And as always, stay safe and stay informed. Good night, everyone.
Good night.